Hi everyone. As part of English as means of communication, let us learn some important aspects in active and passive voice. What is the difference between active and passive voice? We learned earlier, right? If subject becomes object and object becomes subject, and subject happens to be the doer and object happens to be the receiver, it is called active voice. Otherwise, it is called passive voice. We learned all those things. So we need not learn it again. But we first of all we must know transitive and intransitive verb before approaching into active and passive voice. What is the difference between transitive and intransitive verb? Because in case of transitive verbs we have passive voice. In case of intransitive verbs we don't have passive voice. But how can we identify whether it verb is transitive or intransitive? If the verb is has immediate object, then it is called transitive verb. If the verb has object which is guided by preposition, then it is called intransitive verb. For example, he is going to market. Here he is subject, going is a verb, market is object. But here market is guided by the preposition to. In such cases, he is going to market. In such cases, we don't have passive voice. Let us know everything theoretically in detail. Now friends, read the story given and find out the verbs and tell if those verbs are transitive or intransitive. Let us read the story. Once there lived a crow and a sparrow. The sparrow lived in a hut made of mud, whereas the crow lived in a hut made of wood. Because of heavy rain, the sparrow's hut was damaged completely. Read the second sentence now in the paragraph. The sparrow lived in a hut made of mud. Here the sparrow is subject, lived is verb, hut is object. But here we have to find out whether the word lived is transitive verb or intransitive verb. The word lived is intransitive verb because it has an object hut guided by the preposition in. In such cases, we don't have passive voice. The sparrow lived in a hut made of mud. There is no passive voice for that. Whereas the crow lived in a hut made of wood. Same. Because of heavy rain, the sparrow's hut was damaged completely. If you come to the last sentence, you can understand the sentence is in passive voice. The sparrow's hut was damaged. Damaged by what? By rain. Though it is not given, that is understood. Sparrow's hut was damaged by rain completely. If you change the sentence into active voice, how can you change it? The rain damaged the hut of sparrow completely. Here, the word damaged is transitive verb. Once again, tell the sentence in active voice. Rain damaged the hut. So, here rain is subject, damaged is verb, hut is object. Here the object is direct object. So, the verb has direct object. So, it is said to be, the verb is said to be transitive verb. So, it has passive voice. Now, let's read the second paragraph. The little sparrow flew to the crow to ask for shelter. The crow, instead of giving shelter, it pushed the sparrow out. When the sparrow was in sad mood, the goddess appeared and asked reason for its sadness. On hearing the sad story of the sparrow, the goddess told the sparrow, "Don't worry, you go to your place and you can find shelter there." Read the first sentence again. The little sparrow flew to the crow to ask for shelter. Little sparrow flew to the crow. Here, what is subject? Sparrow is subject, flew is verb, and here crow is object. But here, the crow is said to be indirect object because it is guided by the preposition to. In such case, the word flew happened to be intransitive verb. So, we don't have passive voice to that sentence. Now, you pick out the verbs in rest of the paragraphs and say whether they are transitive verbs or intransitive verbs. If they are transitive verbs, how can you change them into passive voice? If you go on trying in that way, you can have clear idea of it. Now come to this third paragraph. The little sparrow had shown gratitude to the goddess and flew to its place. It was surprised to see beautiful strong building in the place of its hut. Since then, it was leading happy life in that building. Every day it was showing gratitude to the goddess who gave the beautiful shelter. Once again, read the first sentence. The little sparrow had shown gratitude to the goddess. In that, had shown. Shown is transitive verb because it has direct object gratitude. So, we can change that sentence into passive voice. The little sparrow had shown gratitude. So, gratitude had been shown by the little sparrow to the goddess. One more thing what you have to observe here is in this sentence we have two objects, direct object and indirect object. When gratitude is direct object, to the goddess is indirect object. Again, in case of indirect object, that object is also guided by the preposition. In the same way, you pick out some more verbs and find out whether they are transitive or intransitive verbs. If they are transitive verbs, just you change them into passive voice. Once the crow's shelter caught fire and it was burned to ashes. The crow flew to the place where the sparrow was living. It flew into the building and was shocked to see the sparrow there. The sparrow forgot everything, how it was insulted by the crow, welcomed its guest and gave it food and shelter. Read the last sentence again. The sparrow forgot everything, how it was insulted by the crow. If you take that part, the sentence is in passive voice. The sparrow forgot everything. Otherwise, the first part is in active voice. The sparrow forgot everything. Everything was forgotten by the sparrow. How it was insulted by the crow. And if you take the second part, it is in passive voice. So, if you change it into active voice, how it was insulted by the crow. How the crow insulted the sparrow. So, here forgot is transitive verb and insulted is also transitive verb. So, we could change them into other forms. If it is an active voice, we could change into passive. When it is passive, we are able to change it into active also. Now, let's observe the sentences given here and their structures. I eat sweets. This sentence is said to be in active voice because here subject is the doer and object is the receiver. Observe the verb now. I eat sweets. Here the word eat is simple present. It is in simple present tense. I eat sweets regularly. We have to think in that way. So it is in simple present tense. When the word is in simple present tense, we have to introduce the auxiliary verbs like is or are, right? Here sweets is in plural form, so we use the word are. Sweets are eaten by me. Here again eaten is the past participle form of the verb. So in passive voice, the main verb should be in past participle form. A sweet is eaten by me. Sweets are eaten by me. That's the structure we have to use. Now come to the second sentence. I ate a sweet. Here the word ate is in simple past. As such, we have to use the auxiliary verb was. I ate a sweet. So what's the passive form of it? A sweet was eaten by me. If you say I ate sweets, sweets were eaten by me. Now look at these sentences. I am writing a letter. Here the sentence is in present continuous tense form, right? What subject? I is subject, letter is object. As such, here when the word is in continuous tense form, you have to use the auxiliary verb being. I am writing a letter. a letter is being written by me. So, what's the past participle form of write, written? So, we use the word written there. And another thing what you have to observe here is in passive voice, the object a letter is in singular form. Suppose if we say letters are being written by me. In case of past continuous also, it's same. I was writing a letter when my friend came to my house. A letter was being written by me when my friend came to my house. So, in continuous tense form, we have to use being. Now, come to the next sentence. I have posted the letter. Here, when the sentence is in present perfect or past perfect, we have to introduce been in passive form. I have posted the letter is an active voice. What's the passive form of it? The letter has been posted by me. Suppose if the subject is in plural form, the letters have been posted by me. So you have to keep all these things in mind while changing active into passive. These are the structures. You can make as many sentences as you can. Now look at these sentences. I will or shall purchase mangoes tomorrow. This sentence is in active voice, and what tense form is used there? Simple future. I will or shall purchase mangoes tomorrow. What's the passive form of it? Mangoes will be purchased tomorrow. Here by me is understood. You may write or may not write, but that is understood. Mangoes will be purchased tomorrow. That's in passive voice. These are just fundamentals. We must also know when the sentences are in the form of questions, how can we change them into passive voice? We must know. When any sentence starts with it, how can we change it into passive form? There are many. Whenever you read a story or listen to anything, you come across all these things. So learn everything. First you learn everything theoretically, then you can apply in sentences later on. So keep all these things in mind when you change active to passive or passive to active. The most important aspect is transitive verbs. Only transitive verbs have passive voice. That also you must know about. In case of sentences which have two objects, direct object and indirect object, how can we change them into passive voice? Here's sentence is given. I gave my pen to my brother. What is subject there? I. What is object? My pen. What is another object? My brother. Here what is direct object? My pen is direct object because we got it immediately after the verb. To my brother is indirect object because it is guided by the preposition to. In such cases, how can we change them into passive voice? We have two passive voice there. I gave my pen to my brother. My pen was given to my brother. By me is understood. If you write or don't write, that is understood. My pen was given to my brother. That is one way of changing it into passive voice. Another way of changing it into passive voice is my brother was given a pen. Here also by me is understood. We need not tell again. In this way, children, you make different sentences. First, you pick out some transitive verbs and make sentences in active voice, then change them into passive voice. Sometimes you can take the sentences in passive voice and change them into active voice. These are very important to 10th standard and intermediate students, for all categories of students. More than that, mainly in English language, passive voice is used. So while writing any articles, anything, any reports and all, normally we use passive voice. While describing the process also, we use passive voice. So it is very, very important. Of course, you can use active voice also, but the better way of communication is passive voice as far as English is concerned. So, children, keep all these things in mind while framing sentences. Learn these structures through stories or any facts. Let's come with some other aspects in our next class. Till then, bye.